Okay, so we are back in the museum for another discussion.
How come I can't film?
Because you're not a camera person.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah. You're
Oh
not
my
a
God.
camera person, so
I'm
you don't
not.
film. Right. See how steady my hand is? You don't have that steady hand.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Anyway.
Is that what it is?
It is exactly what it is.
Okay.
When it comes to camera angles and shots, you just don't have it. Because I got that steady hand.
I see. You're nuts.
Yeah. So anyway, today's discussion actually is a discussion that me and David had, and we've been having this conversation for a while.
Off and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly it's about, you sit around, you look on eBay because you're trying to find things to fill up your little museum or whatever, and you see things from your childhood, things that you had or you remembered, and then that gets you going with, oh, I remember this, and we used to wake up and watch cartoons on Saturdays or
Yeah.
after school, and you just think back at your childhood and you just remember the things, and it brings back a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And yesterday that happened, and I thought about it, and I was like, what do kids today have? Because many of us, we're over 40.
Yeah.
Many people can look back at their childhood pictures and they'll see pictures of them on Christmas or on their birthday or sometime. And
it triggers that feeling.
yeah,
Like
or this.
with this, I had the McDonald Land play set there.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at that real quick.
Hold on, I got the box right here.
Oh, there. Yeah. Is that way? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had this when I was a little kid. I don't even remember where it came from,
Mm-hmm.
but I had it when I was a kid, and I wanted to have it again. It's actually pretty hard to find complete, and I just got it recently.
Mm-hmm.
And put it up on a video, and that was very nostalgic for me. It was like, oh, I remember that. I really want to have that again. And I've been looking for a long time, and that's what most of us are doing.
Right.
Is trying to find something that triggers that memory, and hopefully that memory triggers a feeling or leads to another memory.
Mm-hmm. And many people have children now, and it's like, what do your kids have? I mean, do they have anything today that in 20 years, 30 years, they'll look back and like, oh man, I remember this, or I remember waking up on Saturday, because they can't watch cartoons.
No, there's nothing.
There's no after school cartoons. When I was a kid, we came home from school and we sat down and we watched cartoons. On Saturday mornings, I would wake up, get a bowl of cereal, and watch the whole gamut of Saturday morning cartoons. Then me and my cousins would go out, we would play and, ride our bikes and do things like that. But, today kids don't have the cartoons, so they can't remember. Like, we're watching some old cartoons now.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. We have like a day. We have like different days of the week, and we'll do something different on each day. Like Monday, it's 60s shows, and we're watching Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Twilight Zone. And Tuesday, 70 shows, Battlestar Galactica, yeah, and so on. 80s is more. The next genre is 80s shows, and then so on and so forth. And we also have like Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday, we do the cartoons, and we're watching right now what He-Man, Thundercats,
Yeah.
Smurfs,
Yeah.
and
Fat Albert.
Fat Albert, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fun.
Yeah, but you remember when you were a kid and you used to watch it.
Yeah.
But back to what we were saying, kids today, they don't have it. What are they going to go look back and like, oh, I remember watching that. What, like some kind of reality show, the Kardashian shows or something like that.
Yeah,
You
or
know?
I mean, these kids are coming home and they're with it all day. All day they're like this.
Yeah.
And what are they watching? Are they watching an actual show, or are
No.
they watching these little mini clips off of like YouTube or Facebook? And that's what they're always looking at.
Yeah.
All the bits and pieces, little 2 minute videos of some lousy prank that was probably staged, because
Mm-hmm.
most of them are fake.
Yeah.
Those pranks, they're not real. In case you didn't realize. But what kind of memories is that? You know,
Yeah. Do they have memories from holidays, or if you do holidays, or if you do birthdays, or you know do you give your kids some kind of toy? Do they have the pictures to go back? Do you even give your kids toys, or do you give them phones and video games and the consoles?
mm-hmm.
And what do they have to look back on?
And for us, video games are nostalgic
Mm-hmm.
because we're part of the culture where they were originally introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Omni and then Atari. People don't remember Omnivision because Atari was the first one to really pull it off as a home system. You had an Atari system, you remember that. You were one of the first people to ever have a home game system if you had
Mm-hmm.
an Atari or an Omnivision. If I'm saying that right, was it Omnivision?
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall, but and I had one too as an adult. I didn't have one when I was a kid. The Atari I had, I actually got myself. I bought it from a friend. But or Coleco
Mm-hmm.
was a big one. Coleco in television, and then the Nintendo NES or Sega Genesis. We're part of the generation where that stuff was first coming out, and they had characters, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mario, things like that. It stands out. But nowadays, are they producing games that are going to have that kind of staying power in someone's memory and their nostalgia, where they're going to be sitting there 30 years later being, I remember when I used to play Bioshock. I want to go back and find stuff from Bioshock. Or is nobody going to even know what they're talking about? It's not the same thing.
Yeah, and what kind of toys are again, we're in our 40s, and you
Yeah.
you search and comb the internet trying to find these toys that you see back
Yeah.
here. What are they going to look for? Brats and LOL surprise,
LOL
or
surprise. It's not even connected to anything, and if it was, they don't watch it anyway. They don't watch the shows. There's nothing to connect it to. That's how we got into the discussion about some weeks back why it is that these companies are putting these toys out without any marketing, like the new Mattel Origins and the what was the other one, the Hasbro Classifieds, and there's a lot of people that are saying, how are they putting that stuff out and there's nothing to connect it to? There's no movie, there's no cartoons. How are the kids? They don't care about the kids
yeah,
anymore. They gave up.
yeah, them
They're
kids don't
targeting
want nothing.
us. They're putting that stuff on the shelves to humor us. It's not like this, like the Fat Alberts. These are the Tedro Fat Alberts from like 1982, and I've got the whole set on the card. I used to watch this show. I've probably seen every episode of this 20 times in syndication as a kid because it was always on CBS on Saturday mornings. It's a fun show. And like I said, we're rewatching it now. These figurines mean something because they're connected to it, or the other ones that you probably can't see them. The original Chemtoy Fat Alberts that are sitting up there on top of the Archie Jalopy.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the show, enjoyed the show. I was up probably earlier than you because I
Mm-hmm.
remember watching Captain Bob, who was an artist who would draw and show pictures that kids mailed to him before the cartoons even started. You'd be watching Static and then watching Jets and listening to the national anthem, and then Captain Bob was there. That's how early I was up with my bowl of Lucky Charms. But those kids don't have that anymore. They don't have the cartoons. They don't have Saturday morning has been dead for a long time. They don't
Yeah.
play with toys.
Well, we were talking too, and I remember one day waking up on Saturday, and it was no more cartoons. It was like one cartoon, and then it went on to some teenager
Live
style
action
show.
stuff.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
some kids in school or something. It wasn't even Saved by the Bell, because Saved by the Bell was an after school program.
Uh-huh.
This was something else with some kids in school, and I'm like, what is this?
What happened?
Yeah, and then after that, you had that lasted for a while, and then it was no more
Yeah.
cartoons. Cartoons was gone. I think that was in the '90s, the early '90s, when it just took Saturday morning cartoons totally off the air.
Yeah, they just gave up because of all the restrictions that
Yeah.
kept getting imposed. That's what happened to Schoolhouse Rock, one of my all-time favorites. It's where I learned multiplication from Schoolhouse Rock, but Congress enacted a thing that says you can't learn anything from a cartoon being presented on television. So ABC canceled Schoolhouse Rock. They killed it. And I was like, God, that's so good. It's good songs. It's fun to watch. They're funny, and and you're actually learning something. You're actually learning something educational. No social, no politics, no politics. Although they did have some civics stuff, but that was talking about straight up law, like I'm just a bill,
Yeah.
for example. But they Congress killed all of that, and it took away from this because this started to bleed away all through the 90s, and I think the right around 97, 98 is when the toy companies were really starting to get it that, okay, we're not marketing to children anymore, we need to start backing off of that.
Yeah.
Or even locations. The McDonald's here is a great example. And you see I got the Remco McDonald's playset. If you're in our age category, what did McDonald's mean to you as a child? It was marketed directly to children. You went in there and the seats were hamburgers. They had a playland outside. They had all these colorful pictures. It was very child oriented. Going to McDonald's was a treat because you knew it. There's no one who captures that anymore. Even Chuck E. Cheese doesn't really capture that. That's that nostalgic approach. It's not there for anybody now.
All of the nostalgia is gone, even in commercials, because this year, well, in 2020, we went back for the first time, really, and we sat down and watched vintage Christmas commercials.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
And
was
I
like,
put up a collage of those
yeah.
myself on this channel.
And it was like, wow, I remember that commercial. I remember that product. It all had little stories in it. They told you something. Now you got commercials. You don't even know what they're selling.
They're either trying to be really artsy, or they're trying to be political, or they're trying to be funny. And it's mostly none of those things. And if I can't imagine myself in 30 or 40 years watching those again and being entertained by it like I was by the commercials that we saw from the 70s and 80s.
No, and I mean, granted, we don't have cable,
Yeah.
so we don't see the mainstream commercials. We see whatever they play on Pluto and Tubi and not YouTube. Yeah, and Amazon, whatever commercials we
Yeah.
get to see on those little bit of things. But from the ones we see, it's all insurance commercials, and it's all advertising other TV shows, and it's just ridiculous.
Politics.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all politics. It's just ridiculous, and you're sitting there like, what are they even selling? What are they talking about? What is this commercial about?
And even the reading, kids used to read. We used to read a lot growing up. Kids don't read anymore.
No.
They don't want to read. Comic books, it's an adult targeted market. There aren't that many, from what I've seen, and I'm not heavy into comics anymore, but from what I've seen, it's mostly adults collecting them, buying them. a lot of the new stuff that's coming out, they're buying it based on the covers as opposed to the story. I hear nothing but complaints from the comic book fan genre about storylines. You know, there's some good ones out there, and it's like, oh yeah, there's some good ones out there. You got to choose. You know, no, I don't want to. It's not the same. It's not the same as how it used to be with the comic books either. And again, that just clings back, you know, without any shows. Oh, and also, who else out there after Saturday mornings, right? You switch to the UHF station to watch WCW or WWF wrestling, or to watch the Creature double feature and see some crazy Japanese kaiju monster movies or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big part of it as well. That's not there anymore. There is no more UHF TV.
No, because now your TV, I don't know.
Digital.
Yeah, it's all digital.
They killed all of that.
You don't even watch the where you have to flip the channel. Now you're on the cable and you scroll through their little thing.
Yeah.
You know. So I don't know. It's just all different, and like I said, we were sitting down and we were thinking about it and talking about it and just wondering, what do kids do? Because when we were kids, we did things, we had things, and now that we're older, we're remembering those things, we're looking back. But what are your kids gonna remember?
I mean, when they're like 60, are they going to be looking for retired iPhones? If like, oh, I remember when I had this one, dude.
Yeah, iPhone.
I get their collection of iPhones, and this one still runs, and this one's still got a good battery.
But the funny part about that, now when your phone, they come out with a new one, you take the old one and they trash it, or you throw it away, or you take it to Walmart or Best Buy and you put it in that bin or something. So you don't even have one to say, oh, I remember this, and this is the one I had as a kid or something.
Photographs don't matter anymore.
No.
Photographs for those of you who are too young to remember, was a big process. You had to have a real camera. It was not cheap.
Yeah.
You had to put film in it. It was a limit to how many pictures you could take. You sent that film somewhere to be processed. You paid for that. And you had an actual physical photograph that you would hold on to.
Yeah, you got one.
There I am. This is me with Santa. I don't know how old I am here. I have no idea. I remember that hat, though. But you had an actual physical photograph. And this was your memory, and you'd keep them in a book, like a scrapbook. They had
or
a photo
box.
They had a photo book, or some people keep it in a box, and that meant something. Now that you can you walk around with a device that you can get unlimited pictures in, and you fill up your phone with it, and you fill up your computer with them, and you forget about them, and you don't care. And most of those photos, they get deleted or lost, or your computer crashes and you throw it out. The pictures don't mean anything anymore. The photographs, so you don't have that. I don't know.
It just seems.
What do they have?
It seems sad because.
So they lost. It's like, because the nostalgia is part of your identity. That's really what you're going back and looking at, is a piece of your identity. So what is there to identify with right now that these kids are gonna look back and have in 30 or 40 years?
Yeah, what is there to even remember? You know, do you have anything? Will a 5-year-old today have anything to remember when they're 35 or 40? What are they going to look back and say, oh yeah, we used to do this, and on Saturdays, this was something that me and my friends did, or I don't know.
That too, because we were out.
Yeah, we didn't stay in the house. We were mad if we had to stay. It was punishment to stay in the house.
Yeah, everybody's in front of the phone all day long now, being that auto stimulation of staring at the phone and watching one blurb after another, barely paying attention to it. It's like that one show. I can't think of the name
The
of it.
feed
The feed, yeah, and it's live wired,
into your
and
brain.
yeah, and so they see something all the time, and the young people in this show, if something interrupted the feed, they would have a seizure because they're so used to constant input that they can't
Yeah.
function without it.
The,
TV shows is a good one
mm-hmm.
because when we were kids, a season had to have at least what 28 episodes.
Yeah, 23 to 28
Yeah,
episodes.
something like that, and sometimes more. You remember the first season of He-Man, 64
Yeah,
episodes.
but that was every day.
It was a daily show, so but it was always a different show.
Yeah.
And if you watched whatever your show was, Knight Rider, I know
Mm-hmm.
you like Knight Rider a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You watched it, one episode, you see the next one next week, as long
Mm-hmm.
as some special announcement didn't interrupt it. Like if the presidential announcement
I
or some
know.
storm came up or something and they'd interrupt the show and you'd miss it, you'd have to wait 6 months to see it again. You watch every episode once a week, and then during the off season when they were filming, they would rerun the show one time
Yeah.
on one of the three networks. There was only three channels, three major channels, and then one PBS channel,
Mm-hmm.
and then public broadcasting when you saw Sesame Street,
Yeah.
which was 5 days a week, a different show every day of the year,
Mm-hmm.
and which is why you never see it in syndication. And then maybe 2 to 4 UHF stations that were local that had God knows what.
Yeah.
It wasn't like now. So when you saw a show, you paid attention if you liked that show. And you knew what happened, and you talked about it with your friends the next few days.
You
And you
did.
talked about, well, oh man, I wonder what's going to happen next week, when, especially if it was a two-parter or something like
Yeah.
that. And nowadays, a season, 8 to 10 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes on at once. You
Yeah.
binge watch the whole thing. A month later, you can't remember what happened.
And you said that, and that's so true, because I remember when I was in elementary school, all the way
Yep.
through high school, really, you watched the show, you went to school the next day, because everybody saw it, and you talked about it. What you saw on the show, oh, that was funny, I didn't like that, why that person did that, oh, I can't wait till next week we can see that again.
Yeah.
And you know, if somebody said, oh, I didn't get to see it, you're like, what happened to you? Why you
Yeah.
didn't get to see it?
You
know?
missed it, and like I said, you had to wait till it was re-syndicated
Yeah.
in the same time slot 6 months later.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, the best you could hope for was if a UHF station picked it up as a rerun. But that's only after the series was canceled.
Yeah. And then the funny part too with that, if someone knew they wasn't going to be able to watch it, they asked the person with the VCR, can you tape it?
And
Can you tape this show? And you taped it for your friend, and they watched it
yeah,
before the next episode came on. And everybody did not have a VCR. We were one
Yeah.
of the lucky ones. We had a VCR. But everybody didn't have a VCR. And VCRs isn't like, well, it's kind of like a DVR because it's digital video. But it was a tape you had to buy and put in the machine, and you recorded your favorite programs. And you can actually set it to record.
yeah. And then with the VHS also, movies were more epic then in the 70s, 80s, because there weren't as many films.
Yeah.
So they came out less frequently. They stayed in the theaters longer. I remember Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark was in the theaters for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
2 years later, I went back and rewatched it. Bought another ticket and saw it again. And after it was taken out of theaters completely, you still had to wait a couple of years for it to be available on a VHS cassette, and it was like $90. You know, there was no. It's not like if we see a film now and we're like, you want to go to the movie and see it, or you want to wait for it to come out on disc, because you know it's only going to be a couple of weeks. You know, it's if it's a big enough film that you're like, yeah, let's go to the theater and see it. Like we went to the movie to watch Endgame, to the movies to see Endgame.
Yeah, we did.
But if we didn't want to bother with it, be like, it'll be on disc in a few weeks. No big
Yeah.
deal. Or it'll show up on cable. Or not cable, but, it'll be
Yeah,
available on the
Amazon or
internet
something.
somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have that. So you either saw it or you didn't.
Yeah.
And I think the films were a lot better. I think there were more epic films in the 70s and 80s than are being produced now, even the good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's just something that we wanted to discuss and bring it to you and let you think about it
Yeah,
and
what do
talk
you think
about it.
about that?
Uh-huh.
Because I feel bad for these kids. I don't know what they're going to cling to, especially with all the social and political propaganda they get hammered with all
I
the time.
know it's flooding them, and it's
'Cause we didn't have that.
no, and it seems like it's wrong to flood them with all of that at such a young age. But that's something for the whole nother channel.
Yeah, let them be children is my opinion. Let them be children. That's how
Yeah.
you learn. You
Yeah.
don't steal it from them.
Yeah. But anyway, leave your comments. Tell us what you think, and if you got kids, what do you do to help give your kids memories, or if you thought about it, you're like, yeah, wow, I just made a good point. My kids don't have anything. Let us know this.
Or how do you try to bring something to the table that they'll have as a good memory?
Yeah. Anyway, until next time.
We will see you again.